To Caroline Glick. She is a senior contributing editor for the Jerusalem Post, and I think one of the best writers in the world. And I know she has a new book coming out. We'll have her on the show when that book comes out. But Caroline, can you help me out? Where am I wrong on this John Kerry connection to the boycott? I mean, I see this, and it's like all the same people again. It's almost like it's administration-led boycott.
Well, it's certainly encouraged. Thanks so much for having me on your show, Glenn. It's really a pleasure to be with you today. It's really being encouraged by the administration, and one of the leading actors in the boycott movement in the United States is Code Pink. And you may remember that in 2009, when he was the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, John Kerry wrote a letter of support to Code Pink members who were going on a flotilla to try to break Israel's lawful maritime blockade of the Gaza coastline, because Gaza is terrorist-controlled territory, and they went through Egypt, and the Egyptians would not give them any assistance, and because they realized that they were allies of the Muslim Brotherhood. But John Kerry gave them that letter of support in 2009 when they were already trying to do this sort of thing, which of course blew up in 2010 with the Turkish IHH ship Mavi Marmara. IHH is a Turkish NGO that's allied with Al Qaeda. It was outlawed by the previous government in Turkey because it was allied with Al Qaeda. At any rate, John Kerry has a long history of supporting Code Pink, and Code Pink is also a major supporter, funder of Obama.
All right, so help me out on this, because I see John Kerry saying, I mean, it's like they're working hand in hand with this boycott, and he's saying, look, you're going to get this boycott, and you can end it here. Basically, translating, you can end it here with a boycott, and you're gonna come and work on a solution. Or I hear him basically saying, you're going to have much worse, and the United States is not going to. We'll make sure that everybody understands, the next intifada that comes, your fault, not anybody else's. Am I reading that wrong?
You know, I think that it's really important to recognize that Israel's economy is very, very strong. Our debt to GDP ratio is one of the healthiest in the world, far better than the Americans. And without government intervention, Israel's, in the last quarter of 2013, Israel's trade with Europe rose by 5% in the midst of this whole boycott thing. But what we're finding now is that a lot of this boycott of Israel is directed by governments themselves and not by businesses that want to continue doing business with Israel, that want to expand their business ties with Israel. But the government itself, particularly in Britain and also in Scandinavian countries, are directing their businesses not to do business with Israel. And so too, the European Union, in contravention of the World Trade Organization treaty, has been trying to issue guidelines that prevent EU entities from having any economic ties with Israeli entities that are either headquartered or do business beyond the 1949 armistice line. So this is very much government directed, and again, in contravention of standing law in Europe, the WTO treaty, and also law in the United States. This treaty was ratified by the Senate of the United States, and this is what they're doing. And now, yes, we see that the government in Washington is encouraging this.
Okay, I only have a less than a minute, about 45 seconds. What happens next, Caroline?
Well, I mean, I think that the problem is that there's no way that Israel can appease the United States, because none of this has to do with anything. And there's no chance of reaching an agreement with the Palestinians. So even if we wanted to try to help them out and do what they tell us to do, we can't, because none of this is our making. So we really have to understand that this boycott is not about Israel. It's about the boycotters and their hate towards the Jewish state.
Okay, thanks, Caroline, and stay safe in Jerusalem. Back in just a second.